couldn't even get a job. One of the best quarterbacks out there.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, just making that move back then taught me a lesson in life.
Yeah.
So when I ended up going from Bancroft to Dalcastle was a life lesson. It prepared me for life.
Right.
So when I got into the corporate world, I understood how the game is played.
Right. And then
they love you. They love you if you're doing certain things, but if you take a stand, it's a whole different world.
Oh, absolutely. Now, from Dalcastle, you went to Hampton, right?
From Dalcastle, I went to a place that really was the biggest change in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I went from Wilmington, from Dalcastle to Hampton University. Well, at that time, it was Hampton Institute.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know a lot about Hampton, but I knew that it was one of the best schools out there.
Mm-hmm.
And to leave an all-white high school and to go to HBCU was the best thing that ever could happen. Because I met some friends at Hampton that are friends for life.
Right, and that's how it goes. You make lifelong friends.
It went from boyhood to manhood, you know, and it was one of the best things that could ever happen because that's where I really became from a boy to man.
Right.
And I tell you what, it was great.
Okay.
And I've always said that what the HBCUs have done for our people, it's been phenomenal. And that's why we got to continue to support those schools. So when I go back to Hampton every year for homecoming, it's a refresher. It reminds me of how great this place really was. Because without Hampton, I wouldn't have been where I'm at.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now, when you graduated from Hampton, tell us where you went from there.
From Hampton, I took a job. I got recruited from a company called B. Altman.
Okay.
B. Altman was a big retailer in New York City.
Okay.
And my thing was, if I can make it in New York, I can make it anywhere. So I took the challenge of leaving Hampton, going up to New York City, worked in a store called place called B. Altman on the same lines as Macy's or Saks Fifth Avenue. Took a job as a men's shirt, a buyer. I was assistant buyer.
Okay.
For men's shirts at this high-end store.
Okay.
But what I didn't realize, the cost of living in New York was just it was just unreal. And to live in a what was it, studio apartment back then, or a studio cost about $2,000. That was back in 1981.
Ooh, no.
So I did that for a year and I ended up coming back to Delaware and took a job at Jewel T Discount Grocery.
I remember that.
Remember that?
I remember. You were a manager at Jewel T, right?
Yeah, manager at Jewel T. And I never forget, one of my best buddies, childhood friends, Kenneth L. Shabazz, said, "Hey, man, you need to look at doing something in sales." And I knew that sales was something I could do because that's something that I've always talked about.
Right.
So he was working for Armstrong Floor and Tile. Remember, he was working for Armstrong Floor and Tile. And he said, "Man, if I can get you an interview, let me know." And that never came about, but I ended up getting a job at McCormick Spice Company going to sales. And I did that. And did that for a couple of years. And I ended up going, because, I worked at FedEx for a brief period of time.
I remember that.
I took a job as a driver and wanted to get my foot in the door for a sales position. But at the time, I didn't have any true sales experience.
Right.
And what they said was either you can leave the company and go get some sales experience, or you may not never get in sales.
Right.
So my thing was, go ahead and leave the company, get that sales experience, and then when I came back, what's the excuse? Because I wanted to break down all the barriers.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I knew as a black man, I wasn't going to get the same breaks as somebody else.
That's right.
So I ended up leaving for 2 years. I sold for McCormick, did a pretty good job, came back to FedEx and said, "Here are my credentials. Now, what's the block you're saying? What's going to be the thing why I can't go into sales?"
Right.
And they gave me a chance to interview, and the rest is history.
Right.
I blew the interview away.
Yeah.
Because
and now,
I prepared myself for
and
that.
you've been with FedEx for how many years now?
I'm in my 34th year.
Wow.
34th year.
Wow. And tell us what you do now for FedEx.
Right now, I'm in a new program, and that program is enterprise sales. And that's dealing with corporate accounts. But during that period at FedEx, I've done a lot of different things. I've done government sales. I've done sales management, then marketing. I've held about 7 different positions. We moved 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, because you were a regional.
Regional manager, sales manager. Yeah.
Okay.
But during that period of time, I've grown a lot, met a lot of people, mentored a lot of people. And the thing that I really want to point out here, the importance of giving back.
Yeah.
It wasn't about me.
Right.
It's about giving other people a chance. So when I was in a position in management, I always got a chance. I always said, I got to give somebody that looked like me the opportunity. Because if I don't do it, if I'm in a position to give back and I don't, then I failed my people. I failed myself because somebody helped me.
Yeah.
So anytime I could sit across that table and influence a hiring decision to bring somebody in that looked like me, I was going to do that.
Well, you did that for me. I know you remember that's how I got in because I as soon as I got in, I got pregnant though, and I was working part time, and I worked Market Street in Wilmington.
Right.
I think it was
Right.
824.
That's right.
And then I did the photomat on 202.
That's right.
And I'm gonna tell you, that was one of the best jobs I ever had. To be all honest, I was a service agent. And I took the packages over the counter.
That's right.
And
wow, that's a long time ago, too.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Amber was in my belly back then.
Wow.
Yeah. And Amber is what, 28? So that was like over 28 years ago. Imagine if I had stayed with the company.
Yeah.
I would have had some tenure.
Pretty.
Yeah, I was sitting pretty.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I left was because I had Amber, and I was working part time, and I wanted something full time so I could pay for daycare. But I'm gonna tell you, that was one of the best jobs I ever had. It really was. I enjoyed working at FedEx. So.
Well, it's been a good career, T, and I think the most important thing for me was to be able to look back and help people that look like me. Because I know how it is sitting on an interview panel, being one of 4 people, being the only minority on that panel, and see how decisions are made.
Right.
People are comfortable with people that look like them.
Yes.
And I had to fight a lot of times to make sure that brother or sister that was being interviewed got a fair chance.
Right.
Because if I wasn't there, they weren't going to get that chance.
Absolutely not.
And at
You're
one
right.
time, I can truly tell you this, I had a sales team that was comprised of 8 brothers on that team.
Wow.
And no other team in the country had that many black males on their sales team.
Oh.
Because it was important for me to make sure if they were qualified, they couldn't come in shaky. Now, they
Right.
had to have the right credentials.
Right.
If their credentials are straight and they could do the job, I'm going to give them a shot. And they hated. A lot of folks hated that fact that you had so many brothers on one team being managed by a black man. But I didn't care. Because I knew if I didn't do it, it was okay for them to always hire people that look like them.
Of course.
Nothing
Of course.
question.
Of course.
But my
of
thing
course.
is, if you're going to get this shot, you got to do the job.
Right. You know
So,
what?
you have to have standards. You have to have some accountability. But all that goes back to that Southbridge experience for me. So that's what made me who I am. And, I was lucky enough to meet the queen of my life. She's not from Southbridge, but she's a round-way girl.
I was born in Southbridge.
Oh, is that right? That's right. I'm sorry. Her dad.
From Southbridge.
And the other thing I want to say, on my way to church, Harrison Memorial on Hill Street, my wife's grandmother lived about 5 doors away from Harrison Memorial.
Oh, wow.
And I used to walk to church, and I used to always see this older lady, and she used to always speak, "How you doing?" Never knowing that at one point this lady would be the grandmother of my future wife.
Wow.
So when I ended up meeting Sheila,
Grandma, I'm glad.
and her grandmother ended up, Sheila introduced me to her grandmother, so I know her. And her grandmother was so thrilled that her granddaughter.
She was, right?
Yeah, she was so thrilled.
She was ecstatic.
Yeah, she was ecstatic. That she had a young man of character.
Yes.
Young man of character. Church-going young man that was going to do the right thing.
Church.
Yeah, she used to see me going to church. Didn't know that this was her grandma.
Small world. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that was. I forgot about that part of it. And she was born in Southbridge as well,
Okay.
but she didn't grow up in
My
Southbridge.
father.
She was born in
raised there.
Southbridge, but I didn't know Sheila until after I was in college.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Small world.
We never saw each other. That
Well,
was
thank God.
interesting.
That was
Wilmington's so small.
Wilmington's so small. But my oldest brother was married to her mother's best friend, her best friend's mother. Remember Ramona?
Yeah.
Ivy
Yeah.
and Sheila were best friends.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
That's
yeah,
so
that
awesome.
was the T. Again, Southbridge had a lot of impact on who I am today.
Well, we've always looked up to you, and our grandmother was a hard worker.
Oh, no doubt.
Our grandfather,
No doubt,
he did his thing,
Right.
and you were a hard worker. And like you said, you were more like a brother to my brothers than an uncle. And you changed my sister's diapers, probably
Right, I
changed
sure
mine
did.
too.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely did.
at the end of the day, I mean, we
Absolutely.
always viewed you, because I believe you were the first one in the family to go to college, right?
That was the first one, T. And it was a lot of person. I always tell Sheila this because Sheila's mother, aunts, all those folks went to. I was first generation, and for me to be able to take that step and look at my nieces and nephews and what y'all have done, somebody had to be the first.
Right,
And
absolutely.
I wasn't afraid to take that challenge.
Right.
And when I tell her that, you're afraid. Yeah, somebody had to be the first.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my kids. Y'all don't realize what it took for us to be where we are today.
Yeah.
And I always tell my granddaughter, doors open wide open for you. It's on you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you got aunts, uncle, grandmother, grandfather had that type of impact I mean, the door's wide open. Then you got cousins and everybody that went to school. So it's no excuse for them.
Yeah, not at all.
You know,
not
but
at
no,
all.
like I said, Southbridge was the beginning, and it's still to me the end because that's what helped make me who I am.
Mm-hmm. And I know you've come through there, on your visits up here to Delaware, and you see how it's changed, it's evolving.
Absolutely.
They're trying to build it up and different things like that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, Wilmington overall, we have a new mayor in town, Przicki, and he's just really trying to build everything up. But at the same time, what I'm seeing is a lot more of us leaving and other people coming in.
Right.
So, we got to try to hold on to those neighborhoods. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And then if I'm using the right term, it's gentrification, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so,
absolutely.
So, but they are making a lot of strides in Wilmington and improvements. But like I said, they making stuff where, some stuff is affordable and some may not be. But especially downtown, that riverfront and all that other stuff. Ooh, come on now. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Wilmington is still a great place to live, and I'm glad that you are a product of Wilmington, and it just goes to show that no matter where you come from, people just think, like I said, Southbridge is up and coming, Wilmington is up and coming, the west side of Wilmington will be up and coming soon, and I'm just glad to say that you're my uncle and that you're, that we looked up to you. And now my Aunt Sheila sitting here, and she's been around for a while. She said she remembers us when we were in elementary school.
That's right.
Yeah, and I remember when y'all had Asia. I remember when who painted that mural that
was
Kenny. Yeah, Kenny painted that Sesame Street mural in Asia's bedroom.
Yeah,
I remember.
Nice.
I remember. It was beautiful. I remember.
One reason I didn't want to move out because that mural. Leave that mural.
Yeah, take the wall with you, right? Yeah, it was nice.
Take it with me.
Right, it was really, really nice. But like I said, my Aunt Sheila's here, and we want to get her story. About where she comes from and who she is and what her experience was living in the city of Wilmington. But you know what? I'm gonna take my finger off this record for 1 second. I'm gonna switch fingers because my finger's getting numb, and then we're gonna talk to you. So here we go. I'm switching.
All right.
I'm back with Aunt Sheila. Let me make sure. Yep. Go ahead. We're here with my Aunt Sheila, and like I said, Hartley said she was born in Southbridge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but you grew up where?
Well, my parents raised me in Southbridge till I was about 2 years old, and the Colburns. I'm a Colburn by birth, and I also have two other aunts who married men from Southbridge.
Okay.
The Drydens.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt Doris married a Dryden. My Penny married a Dryden, and my aunt Doris married Bantam.
Okay.
The Bantams from Southbridge.
Okay.
Unfortunately, all three of those marriages didn't work out. They married in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Back then people got married in high school and started families.
Mm-hmm.
So my aunts and my mother all were role models for me because all of us, myself and all my cousins, we watched them raise us.
Right.
It ended up being single parents because the marriages didn't work out. And I think the most profound thing about the situation was that, while we were all in elementary school, we watched them go back to high school.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and her two sisters.
Mm-hmm.
They all went back to high school and got their, they went to night school and got
Right.
their diplomas.
Right.
And once they finished high school, they decided, hey, we're going to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
So all of us are watching this, and they were the first to go to college.
Wow.
In our family. And so we had to grow up fast. You cooking meals at 12, you cooking dinner. So I looked up to all three of them. My mother, my Aunt Doris, my Aunt Penny. My Aunt Penny had 4 children.
Wow.
My Aunt Doris had 3.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother had just 2, my brother and I. So just watching them and what they went through and how they put education first.
Yeah.
Always stayed in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, now they're going to college, So I would even watch my Aunt Doris's son. She would drop him off so they would commute back and forth to Dover.
Wow.
Go to Delaware State every morning.
Wow.
And my job was to make sure Michael got to school because Michael, I think, had just started kindergarten and first grade.
Mm-hmm.
And we would walk, and at that time we lived in Riverside.
Right.
Rosemont Avenue, never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would walk Michael to school with me every morning.
Uh-huh.
So they all got their degrees. They stayed in there and got their degrees. And I said, well, I'm gonna go to college too. You know, why shouldn't do that? So I'm definitely, that's one thing I'm gonna make sure I do.
Right.
I'm going to college because I watched how our lives changed. You know, when they first went, we were all in the projects.
Right.
And then over in Riverside. And then after my mother finished, we moved to an apartment.
Okay.
And then eventually she bought a row home, or rented a row home on 35th Street.
Okay.
And around that time when she was on 35th Street, that's about the point when it was time for me to go to college.
Okay.
But I said one